Good morning guys, thanks for watching. My name is Wade. Today I'm in the studio, so I've got quite a bit of editing to do, and it got me thinking about ways in which I make my footage look a little bit more cinematic, and maybe I can share some knowledge onto you guys. So stick around, and that's what we're going to cover today. So in my experience, there's a couple of things that I try and do when I'm out shooting or edit to help make my footage look a little bit more cinematic. Some of them has taken a really long time for me to learn, and some of them I've picked up quite quickly. So I'm just going to go through a couple of basics that I think will be able to help elevate your footage to make it a little bit more cinematic. First of them is on the camera side of things, so when you're shooting. We'll cover those now when I jump into the edit, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. But essentially it's a moving shot. You know, I find that a moving shot is better than a static shot. I'm not saying that static shots don't have their place. They definitely do, and they can be very, very effective depending on the type of video or the style of video that you're going for and what you want your audience to feel. You know, static shots might be really, really great to show you know, space and to show time, or maybe to have a sort of a lonely feel, you know. But I like to keep my shots moving generally. It just helps my audience along a little bit. It keeps the story flowing and allows me to just keep the brain kind of focused on what's coming into frame and what's leaving frame, and it just, like I said, helps my story a little bit. So I'd say the first thing is moving shots. You know, that's whether it's a pan, a track, you know, even a focus pull is great. You know, it helps kind of shift that focus of the audience to what you want them to see or what you don't want them to see, type of thing. The second is what I like to do. Some people don't like doing it, but I like to a lot of the time shoot through something so that it has something right kind of close to the lens, very out of focus. I just find that it helps create that little bit of depth between audience and the subject that you're trying to show along. So that's the second thing that I would say. But we're going to jump into the computer now, and we're going to have a look at some examples and some of the other examples that I think can help you with your footage. Okay guys, so we're in Premiere Pro. I use Premiere Pro to edit all my stuff. I used to use Final Cut Pro on Mac, but I moved away from that quite a while ago. I just find Premiere Pro works better for me. So I've already chosen my 4 clips here. These are just some shots that I did for that sailing video that I put up a little while ago, last week I think it was. You can see straight away that you can see I like stuff in the foreground. I'll do a bit of a focus pull as I kind of track along to the yacht club. Then it kind of cuts to me walking along. Again, this is a handheld shot, so kind of get that feel of floating on the water a little bit, which is great. You know, I cut to my feet as I walk along the dock. I try to keep the continuity, so as my right foot's about to kind of touch on the floor there, it kind of you know, it sinks up there. Excuse my tan. I haven't quite sorted that out yet. So again, it's just like a more moving shot, telling a story, keeping the audience moving along with me. And then I just cut to this shot here just to show another example of something in the foreground as I track along with the boats in the background. All this just to help tell the story a little bit. So the third thing I would say is color grading. I think it's really, really important. I use adjustment layers, so we're just going to drag that adjustment layer on top of all our footage, expand it over, and then we're going to move into the color space or color workspace, which I use for all my color grading. So we're going to use a LUT in this scenario. If you don't know what a LUT is, it stands for lookup table. It's a preset that allows your footage to have a certain look and feel. So maybe you have somebody that you follow, or a specific type of movie, they've released a LUT that looks like that. And you want your footage to kind of have that same or similar look and feel to it, so you can buy and download those LUTs and bring them into your project. Normally you would bring a LUT into basic correction, but that's more for like if you shot a specific type of camera, like in this case Alexa or whatever the case is, and you want your footage to get to a Rec 709, which is the basic broadcast kind of look. In this case, we're going to bring it down into the creative tab. It allows us to change that intensity. I haven't got anything loaded now, so that we don't have to have it so strong. So we're just going to bring it down to 100 again, and bring our LUT in. In this case, I used a teal and orange LUT. It just really worked for me. I thought it had a nice look and feel to it, and you can see straight away you know, what that LUT's doing. It's those oranges and those blues a little bit more kind of evident, which I quite like. So now that we've got that, you know, we're just going to sharpen a little bit of vibrance, and a touch of saturation, not too much, because we don't want it to obviously oversaturate. We're going to go back onto the basic correction and just punch that contrast a little bit, add the exposure a little bit, because obviously that shot's a little bit underexposed. I like my highlights to be a little bit higher, bring some detail into the shadows, and crush my blacks. I like a very contrasty look. I generally like to crush my blacks and bring my highlights up, just purely because that's my kind of style that works for me. Just a very kind of extreme contrasty look. It doesn't work for everything. You might not put that in something like a comedy or something like that, but in this scenario for me it really works well. So obviously that's just the basic kind of look and feel. We can't have it look like that for all the shots, because obviously every shot is different. So now that we've got the basic kind of look and feel, let's just go back over here and bring that intensity down a little bit, not too much. We don't want to make it so that it doesn't exist at all. And then I'm just going to cut my adjustment layer according to my clips for the purpose of this tutorial. Go back over to basic correction, bring that exposure down for this shot. I don't want it to be too overexposed. Bring that contrast up a little bit, the highlights down, and definitely crush those blacks a little bit more. Yeah, and to me that looks good. I might add a little bit of warmth here just to kind of make it look like it's more of a sunsetty or a sunrisey kind of feel. In this scenario, I kind of want it to look a little bit more morning-like, but again, we're going to add some warmth to this, bring that exposure up a touch, your highlights up, and the blacks down. For me that works really well in this scenario. Over here, similar kind of thing, a little bit more warmth, and apart from that I think it's all good. We don't really need to do too much else there. In this shot here, again, it's all kind of good. Just add a little bit more warmth, maybe bring that exposure down in this case, and then crush the blacks a little bit more. And that's kind of what we're going to go for, and I think that works really well. The fourth thing we can do is we can add cinematic bars to the video. Cinematic bars traditionally are those bars that you find at the top and bottom of your feature films or cinema films, and it just really helps. We've been conditioned to look at a film like that, and straight away when you see that, you feel like it's a feature film, and it just really brings it quite nicely together. So having cinematic bars for your video really help you. They're easily available on the internet. You can download them, or you can make them yourself in Photoshop. Mine is a Photoshop file that I've just brought in and merged all the layers together, and we're going to drag that down on top of all our footage. Drag that over for the remainder of the clip. Straight away you can see the look it gives you, and it feels more cinematic already. You can see without, as we kind of go through, it's lovely, but having these cinematic bars just makes a world of difference. So that's the fourth thing that you can do. That together with your color grading, you can see it makes a huge difference, in my opinion. And the fifth and final thing that you can kind of do, obviously there's so much more, but the fifth thing that I'm going to cover today is audio, and it's twofold. One is sound effects and one is music. Sound effects really important, I feel, and I've only kind of started doing this the past year, is adding sound effects to my film. It really just helps your audience get more immersed in your video, in your film, and feel like they're kind of there with you. They're experiencing that, maybe that kind of chill or that kind of warmth, or the sound of the seagulls in this scenario, and the boats, and the ropes hitting the mast, and all the rest of it, which I think is really helpful. I've already got my sound effects that I used for this over here. We're just going to find something like I think it's this one here. So yeah, that's got a lovely kind of feel to it. That's got a lovely, that's the rope smacking against the mast as the wind kind of passes through the yacht club, which is that typical kind of sound that you would hear in a place like that. So we're just going to set our in points, and our out points, we'll set it over here, and we'll drag that down. That's going to be for the whole kind of this whole clip. We don't need that. So this is a lovely little sound effect, which we can use at the end here, where the rope kind of tightens along as the boat pulls the rope tighter. I think this kind of sound effect really works well for this. So we can drag that down here and see what that sounds like. Maybe something a little bit more. I think that works over there. You know, we've kind of dragged it out a little bit so you can see as that rope reaches tension, it kind of makes a little sound effect, which I think really works well. So I'm not going to get into too many examples here. You can kind of just see what I'm talking about is just adding some sound effects to your film just to help it tell that story a little bit better, and then obviously choose the right music for your clip. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. Alright guys, so that's it from me today. You can kind of see that just all these little things come together eventually. You know, when you're out shooting there, just kind of think along the lines of what can work for you and what what you want your film to feel like, and just keep those shots moving, keep telling that story in as best way you can, and when you come into post, that'll really kind of shine for you. You'll really kind of be able to see, wow, this shot really works well for me over here. Get your sound effects, get your music, you know, bring your color in. You don't have to use LUT, you can kind of do it yourself, which is perfect. You know, I used to do that for a long time and I still do. It really just depends on the kind of look that you want to go for. Add those cinematic bars for your kind of cinematic feel. It really makes a difference, and once you kind of bring all those little things together, it'll make a massive difference in the kind of product that you'll put out, whether it's for YouTube or for your clients or whatever it might be. So I really hope this has been of some sort of use to you guys. If it has, I really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe for more kind of content. Not kind of content. If this has been helpful for you in any way, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below. If this is something that you want to know and see more of, then drop a comment below on something that maybe you have a question about. So thanks for watching guys, have a good day, and we'll check you later in the week.